In this episode today, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has officially shut down. Secondly, President Trump has ordered 2 submarines to be stationed near Russia. And there is new details about the fight that went down in Cincinnati. We're going to get to all these stories in this video, show you what both sides are saying, and give you the bottom line.
Just in, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting announcing today that it will begin to wind down its operations. This after the passage of a federal rescissions package and the release of a Senate Appropriation Committee's appropriations bill, which excludes funding for the CBCPB in more than 5 decades. Their president saying in a statement, despite the extraordinary efforts of millions of Americans who called, wrote, and petitioned Congress to preserve federal funding for CPB, we now face the difficult reality of closing our operation.
So let's make sure you guys are clear on something in regards to this announcement. The organization that was handling the funds from the federal government, that is the organization shutting down, not PBS or NPR. They still will exist, but they will be strictly funded by obviously donations from the public or private donors. And that's exactly what the American people voted for. And so at this point, if they still want to be woke, okay, they have every right to do so because they're being funded privately. Now, don't tell that to CNN because they're still living in the past when it comes to this organization. Take a look at this.
This means the money is officially drying up effective September 30th. And so the nonprofit agency that sent this money out to local stations across the country is shutting down. About 100 staffers losing their jobs. This is a political victory for President Trump because he tried several different ways this year to defund public media, to take out this Corporation for Public Broadcasting. He even tried to fire 3 of the board members, resulting in a lawsuit in federal court. Well, now that lawsuit is moot. It's going away because the entire corporation is going away. The federal funds will stop effective at the end of September because of the rescissions. And there was a recent effort earlier this week in Congress to try to find a new way to try to get money for NPR and PBS. That fell flat as well. There is simply no way the Republicans are going to budget money for NPR and PBS right now due to allegations of bias at those networks. So these local stations will be they're the ones that will suffer, and they're going to suffer in different ways. You know, I was speaking to the head of a public media network in Hawaii that said, look, it was only 6% of our budget. 94% of the budget there is from other sources of revenue, from donors and foundations. So big stations like that across Hawaii, they will survive. Smaller stations in more rural areas may struggle as a result.
Now that is interesting. And before we go any further, let's hear a special message from today's sponsor, Cove Pure. So Utah and Florida, in case you didn't know, just passed bills to ban fluoride in their water. Thanks to RFK Jr., he's been warning us about fluoride for a while. In a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals, scientists found that if your water has fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter, that causes more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. Now, my wife and I have a 1-year-old son, and that's why we use CoPure to purify our water. CoPure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. You just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. Their clear wave reverse osmosis technology is lab certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. If you happen to like fluoride, and that's totally fine, the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click the link in the description below or go to covepure.com/Devori to get $200 off your Cove Pure machine today.
What that means essentially is they're going to help local stations and show producers figure out how to survive without this federal funding. And like I said, there are lots of different pathways forward. You know, it's about raising money from viewers and listeners, perhaps in some cases getting states to bear more of the burden. We're now going to find out what it means to have public broadcasting without actual public dollars attached from the federal government.
Well, I think everybody's looking forward to that. And if we do want public broadcasting, then public broadcasting will have to be subjected to the policies of the federal government. And so that's really the bottom line here. And what people don't like, and I'm talking about people on the left, if it was Joe Biden and he wanted to change things, they'd be all for it, right? But because it's President Trump and he represents the right and people who are conservative, oh, they don't want to go along with the changes. So this is the end result. Now, just in case you guys need a refresher on why this was needed, I saw this clip on X earlier today, and it served as a careful reminder why this organization needed to go away.
And for Pride Month, the kids program introduces a gay family with 2 dads.
Wow, all our families are so different.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different families.
I'm so pleased that Sesame Street is doing this, and I hope other programs will follow suit.
This is nothing new for Sesame Street, which this year introduced 2 new Muppet characters, which are African American.
The color of our skin is an important part of who we are.
Race, just one of the issues Sesame Street has tackled, along with hunger and addiction. Now same-sex couples can be added to that list.
And so it's not part of some big agenda. It's not politics. It's just reality.
Okay, well, reality says that the public doesn't want to fund this type of nonsense. And for someone who's black like myself, I don't need to be represented in these woke TV shows, okay? This whole idea that Democrats have, like, we need to show people that we look like how Americans look. People who are about living their purpose in life and following the plan that God has set for them is not thinking about the color of their skin, okay? Like, that's the bottom line to it. And it's just sad that that's what they believe in. Next story. The former president of Russia is in the find out stage because President Trump just ordered 2 submarines to be stationed near Russia based on the former president's comments. Take a listen.
Fox News Alert now. President Trump now says he is ordering 2 nuclear submarines to be moved near Russia in response to threats from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. He posted on Truth Social based on the highly provocative statements of Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions just in case. These foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. Hope this will not be one of those instances.
So if nothing else, this isn't a move from President Trump to obviously start a war with Russia. This is more of a move to say, hey, listen, if you guys are going to continue to think you're going to get away with saying what you want to say about America, understand not only are we listening, but we are prepared to respond if need be. And that's what's taking place here. For many, many years, this former president has continued to upload these drunk posts, which is what most people call them on social media. It's as if he's literally wasted, and then he goes on to X and starts posting crazy things. And I guess this was finally the last straw for President Trump, which led to him actually making a decision to move a submarine, not just one, but 2 of them near Russia. So I think that kind of tells the story there. Now, even CNN has to admit that this is a bold move from the president, and it's a right one.
Dmitry Medvedev referenced Russia's Soviet-era automatic retaliatory nuclear strike capabilities after Trump told him to, quote, watch his words. We're joined now by former Defense Secretary and former CIA Director Leon Panetta. Secretary, thank you so much for being with us. Your reaction to this move by President Trump and its public announcement?
Well, Brianna, this is nothing new. Obviously, Putin has threatened with his nuclear capabilities for a long time, particularly with regards to Ukraine. We now have Medvedev, who's using these kinds of provocative words to somehow indicate to the United States that Russia does have nuclear capabilities. In the past, we've largely ignored those kinds of provocative statements, but I think the president was right here to say that they are provocative, that they are threatening, they should not be used, and he's sending a message to them by basically redeploying these nuclear submarines. I think it's the right message to send to Russia.
So I wonder how CNN felt about that response. You know, usually when you watch CNN, which I know you guys don't like to do, I do it for you. They'll always bring on experts that fits their narrative. And every now and then you get one that actually counters what they really want them to say. That's just a surface level reaction there. But going a little deeper here, now, I'm surprised we haven't heard from Democrats who are saying that, you know, President Trump is trying to start a war. I'm sure those statements are coming. But again, we are talking about peace through strength, and peace sometimes is about taking preventative measures, right? Being in a position of strength already. That makes people say, okay, well, clearly this president is not jacking around. And I think that's the type of president we have, and we should all be grateful for that. Now, here is the president himself speaking about his decision.
We're being deployed a nuclear submarine.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
Now, just to give you guys a little context, this is not the first time President Trump and the former president of Russia has been going back and forth with each other. In fact, Truth Social happens to be banned in Russia because the amount of times, I guess, President Trump has, attacked the former president, if that's the way we want to put it. Okay, so in other breaking news, it is official. The commissioner of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics has been fired by President Trump. And of course, here is CNN freaking out about it.
And we should tell our viewers, we just got word from our producers that the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics has officially been fired now. David, what kind of precedent does this set? I mean, he's not, to be clear, he's not provided any actual evidence here.
Yeah. Well, and that is nothing new for Donald Trump, right? I mean, so this is behavior we've seen before, and it feeds into this whole notion, of the deep state and the concern that government officials are working against him. He accused this woman and this agency of cooking the books last year in the campaign to benefit Kamala Harris, again, without evidence, totally without evidence. And so I take the point that, yes, this is a human being, and Donald Trump is not a stranger to being impervious to that.
All right, let me just say this really quickly here. One or two things are true. One, this Biden appointee who now has been fired was absolutely cooking the books to a certain level that you have to say it was negligent, and she probably should be prosecuted if that is indeed true. Now, the other scenario is that the federal government, whether it's Biden's administration or Trump's administration, they just cannot seem to get the numbers correct. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to tell me which scenario is more likely to be true here. Now, given what we know about the Biden administration, I'm likely to lean towards the first one, but I'm also not naive either. Now, here is the president and what he had to say about why he made this decision.
Why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics? Because I think her numbers were wrong, just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala, I guess Biden/Kamala, and she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers.
Okay, so according to the president, the numbers have been cooked this entire time, including under his administration. So now we're at the point where it begs the question, how can the American people believe any numbers coming out of the administration if there are still people working within the administration that worked under Joe Biden and was appointed by Joe Biden? And of course, he had a response to that question. Take a listen.
Your supporters have had issues with these numbers. I've had issues with the numbers for a long time. But we're doing so well. I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her. Right. And you know what? I did the right thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I'm of the opinion he doesn't really have to explain himself, not with a decision like this. But, he's one of the most transparent presidents we've ever had in history. So I'm not surprised he wanted to explain. However, not everybody agrees with the president when it comes to this decision. Particularly Kevin O'Leary made some waves because he went on to CNN and he disagreed with the president with this move. Take a listen to his rationale.
We're used to volatility. We had a bad print on jobs. I did not agree on whacking the commissioner. I don't like that. Whacking statisticians makes no sense whatsoever. You don't shoot the messenger. They used to do that in ancient Rome. Bad news, they kill the guy off the horse. You don't need to do that now. It doesn't matter. This is a job where you just print data. So I didn't like that story.
Yeah, but the question, Kevin, is what if we can prove that she was manipulating the numbers? Now, to the average person walking down the street, you wouldn't think a government official who was appointed by the president of the United States would do something like that. But I have to ask you a question. Given everything we've seen from the federal government since the year of 2000, is it really a stretch that the commissioner could have cooked the books, especially when the number is used really for political purposes? I mean, if you think about it, both administrations love to celebrate when the numbers come out. Now, the other side to this is what Kevin O'Leary continued to say in that conversation with CNN when he had to set them straight on their smug attitude towards President Trump and his tariff strategy. Take a listen to this.
What he did is he whacked them with a reciprocal 15% VAT tax in the U.S. You ship something over here from Europe, you pay the same thing they whack an American product with. It's not that complicated. And the market, because listen, I don't give a rodent's rear end about, politicians. I care about policy. I have to invest. The market has absorbed this idea, and GM came out last week and said, okay, I get it. Our margins are down on car part tariffs, but we think we'll eat a third. We'll push a third out on price increases, and we'll use AI to solve the other third. No one's even talking about the productivity of AI.
That's the thing, price increases. People are going to pay more for their cars.
45% decrease in profits.
Okay, so tell me why the American economy right now is at its highest value in history. This is not an ad for Trump. I'm an investor. Something's working here. It's a policy decision. I'm a policy guy. The Europeans have been sucking 15% cash for 40 years out of America. And you're unhappy that we're doing the same thing to them? I don't think so. Get over it. Breathe the oxygen and be happy with your portfolio.
Yeah, that is just too good from Kevin O'Leary. Now, let's go to this other story, which is, I think, entertaining in my opinion. So the mayor of Cincinnati has come out and has held a press conference, finally responding to this fight that went viral. Others call it a brawl. Some people call it a hate crime. I don't care what you call it. Bottom line is the mayor came out and had something to say. That's the first thing. Secondly, what you see here on the screen is one of the council members by the name of Councilwoman Victoria Parks. People are calling for her to resign because she put on Facebook, they begged for that beatdown. I am grateful for the whole story. Now, here's what the mayor had to say. Take a listen.
For the past week, Cincinnati has been dealing with a serious challenge. A challenge because of the awful and horrific fight in our downtown last weekend. A challenge because of both the speculation and legitimate conversations raised because of it at both the local and national level, and a challenge because of the ongoing work that everyone at this podium and partners throughout our community have been investing our time and resources into to ensure the safety and vibrancy of every community in Cincinnati. This was an awful incident, and our law enforcement has been working quickly and effectively to bring all responsible to justice. Let me be clear. There is no place for violent crime in Cincinnati. Whether it's a fight or gun violence, we will pursue those responsible and we will hold them accountable no matter who they are.
Sure you will. I mean, let's just be honest, and I've been saying this since the beginning. The only reason why they're even saying any of this is because the fight went viral. If this never went viral, like most of the fights that happen in Cincinnati every single weekend, they wouldn't be saying this. They wouldn't really be investigating this at the level they have to right now because there's national spotlight on this. So let's just be real about that part. Second part, this guy screams incompetence, okay? He doesn't even sound confident in what he's saying. In fact, he has to read from a sheet the entire time. I hate when political leaders do that. I really do. And I know hate is a strong word. Can you just be authentic for a second? And the third thing is this. Did you notice how tall he is? And this has nothing to do with the story, but man, this guy is towering over the people in his city. I think that's funny. Anyways, let's be more serious. So they ask him about, have you visited the victims here? Because again, there are people who say that this is a hate crime. Well, I think you're going to be shocked by his response to that question. Take a listen.
I have not. I mean, look, again, this was a fight. It was a horrific fight. But as Councilmember and others have said, we have significant other public safety challenges. We have children who are far too often the victims of gun violence. We have oftentimes, far too often, the perpetrators of gun violence being children. We have violent crime like every other major city across the nation that requires our attention and our bandwidth. And so I don't traditionally meet or speak to every victim of violent crime in our city, and that's consistent with my approach today.
Listen, credit where credit is due. I was just knocking him for not being authentic. I think here he finally is. He gives us the real answer. They're not going to visit the victims. They don't even see them as victims, okay? Thank you so much for just keeping it real, because that's what I would rather require from people, so I know where you stand and we see the way that you want to run your city. That's totally fine. Now, he had other people at this press conference, but before we get to them, the police chief is now backtracking, because remember, she came out and said that people who are podcasters, people on YouTube, people on social media are making this investigation tougher because they are spreading misinformation. I'm just paraphrasing what she said. Well, in this next clip, clearly she has changed her tune, and now what she is doing is blaming the city. Okay, listen to this.
But this incident is more than an isolated tragedy. It points to a broader challenge, a revolving door of justice. As I stand here today as the police chief, people can take punches at me all day long. That's fine. That's fine. I'll take them. Our officers risk their life daily to remove violent offenders from the streets, only to see them released quickly and sometimes without consequences. This cycle must end. We cannot and should not ask our officers to bear this burden alone. The criminal justice system must work in full cooperation with all entities doing their part to ensure lasting safety for our community. Despite these challenges, the men and women of the Cincinnati Police Department show up every day giving 100%. From innovative violence reduction strategies to day-to-day problem-solving efforts, we do it because we care deeply about this city and everyone who calls it home.
All right, so this is a good moment to make sure that you guys are getting the full picture of this story, because as we know, when things go viral, key details are left out. There was a separate fight that took place that night. The black individual was trying to break up that fight. In the course of doing that, and on his way back to his vehicle, I guess a white man kicked his vehicle, and then a fight broke out after that, basically. And then that led to a brawl, or what people are calling a hate crime, where clearly they were being stomped out. And then that led to the lady getting knocked out cold. So there are multiple things happening at one time. And the bottom line is this. If you're breaking up a fight, you have to understand you're willing to get into one. That's my first point. Secondly, if someone kicked your car, is that justification to get into a fight? Third, let's just remove all that in general. What about the people who decided to jump in as a group and stump these people out, including knocking the lady out? That right there is what I would call ghetto violent behavior. Now, here's what one council member had to say, where he rips national leaders for speaking about this fight.
So when you continuously run a loop where you have national leaders that are speaking irresponsible, showing black and white people trying to knock each other's heads off, what role do you play, media, in continually showing that level of violence? What role do you play in quoting misdirected national leaders talking about a city that is on the right track, but they're doing everything they can to try to take us off the track? What role do you play, media, in that? And what you'll say, and let me finish, what you'll say is you're just reporting the news. But I'll say to you, when you continuously show a loop and you continuously report misguided, misdirected national leaders trying to slam our city, you have to ask your question. You got to ask yourself, what role are you playing?
All right. So, of course, they're going to be frustrated because this has gone viral. It's got unwanted attention on the city. People are demanding answers, even though they don't have all the information. And so he's just really being emotional and speaking out. I understand that. I get it. People can get a lot of stuff wrong. No question about it. But the fact remains, as I just broke down, we got 3 separate situations going on. We got the original fight that took place. Then we had the guy kicking the other guy's car, which led to that fight. And then the third situation was the brawl that led to the woman getting knocked out cold and people being stomped out. Okay, 3 separate issues. So my only pushback to the council member, which one are you talking about exactly? Now, if you guys really want more details on what took place that night, listen to this clip.
Investigators confirm this particular brawl happened when Matthews was trying to break up a different altercation down the street, and a man kicked his car. Investigators say that's when things went south. Here's Matthews' defense attorney.
He confronts the guy and said, "What are you doing?" That's when, and this clip does exist on social media, it doesn't paint the whole picture, this white individual reaches over, says, "That's your car," and slaps my client in the face. That person, the alleged victim in this case, threw the first punch. Did a melee occur thereafter? Yes, but to say that there was some coordinated attempt and that was the catalyst of what broke out, that is not the true and accurate picture of what occurred.
Where's the guy that started the fight? That he should be locked up. He should be down here.
Investigators confirm they are looking into that as well, but remain adamant.
I don't think it was necessary for someone kicking your car. I don't think this level of violence can just be talked away or dismissed because someone hit my car or someone kicked my car or over an argument. There are other ways to handle this.
Here's Meriwether's mom, Clarissa.
Very remorseful, you know, on both sides. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they was right or the other ones was right. Justice is going to be done. But it may not be equally here at the Justice Center or through men, but God got the last say so, baby.
Now that right there is a wise woman. Instead of playing a race card, she tells it like it is. Because ultimately, my opinion or your opinion doesn't matter at the end of the day. As a Christian, I understand the only person I'm answering to is God, and he knows my heart and he knows yours. And what we do in this life, he's watching, okay? That doesn't mean we need to live in fear, but we know when we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. We know that, especially as adults, but that doesn't mean people are going to listen to that intuition, right? And so we have what we have during that situation. People's emotions got out of control. And unfortunately for them, this fight went viral, which is why everybody's talking about it. Okay, we talked about so much in this video, but I still want to get your guys' reaction in the comments section below. What do you think about the update in regards to this fight that happened in Cincinnati? The individuals are out on bond. They have been arrested. Okay, so there is a court case happening at this moment. The people who were knocked out, they have not been prosecuted. Where do you stand on this issue exactly? Also, let's go back to President Trump ordering 2 submarines to be stationed near Russia. This is a response from a threat from the former president of Russia. Do you support the president's decision on that? And then what about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? I'm so grateful that tax dollars are no longer going to be funding the woke nonsense that we've seen from them. And so give me your thoughts about everything we discuss in this video in the comment section below. Now, in our next video, Kamala Harris continues to make waves. This time, she's finally telling the truth about her political career. Also, President Trump had an interesting response to the jobs report that came out. He calls it a hoax. So if you want to check out that video and more stories from earlier today, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.